thank you so much for having me join online. And sorry I couldn't be there in person. Can everyone see my screen? If you can just say yes so that I can hear it, that'd be great.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So yes, my name is Eleanor Manley and I'm the AI Director at Tribes, based in Manchester. Bruce should be there tonight as well, so don't forget to say hello to him. And today I'm going to introduce you to the Lightning Strikes framework that we developed to help companies build value-focused, innovative AI that's also focused on iterative learning. So I'm going to go through a little bit how we go about that, and then obviously during the Q&A we can also explore specific use cases, especially if you're thinking about artificial intelligence, either to build for your own organization or whether or not you just want to start becoming a bit more inspired by the different things, by the different types of artificial intelligence. One of the main questions that I tend to get is, I know I should be doing something, but I'm not sure what. And really the Lightning Strikes framework is trying to help you answer those questions. So what exactly is it? So the Lightning Strikes, the framework that we're presenting today, was to have any team build AI products. And it goes from ideation to prototype with a clear step-by-step process. And we'll have embedded iterative learning throughout. So basically what this means for anyone who's ever built anything like product related, whether it's software or AI, they'll know the importance of having iterative learning throughout. So it means you're probably going to build something small-ish and learn from it first, rather than going ahead and building something with loads of features. And we called it the Lightning Strikes because we like this idea of being disruptive, but within a very set scope. I unfortunately see a huge amount of artificial intelligence that's very hype driven. I'm sure that tonight, I know that the topic has been a lot on generative AI, and that's something that we've seen really high peaks and as well some disappointment towards. So I hope to be able to enjoy listening to the other panelists explore that idea too. So the Lightning Strikes framework is built and divided up into 3 parts. I'm not going to go through it today because instead I wanted to actually focus on use cases, but just for you to know, when I go through this with clients, we try to look at why they're building artificial intelligence in the first case. It's very important to me that there's actually a use case and a business case there, which means that there has to be a pain. We don't want to be designing any type of product if there isn't a pain there to start with, because it won't be used, and a product that is not used is obviously a failed product, right? Then we'll go into what AI are we building, and then so that will look a little bit more about the different models that we might be looking. I know the previous speaker, I think, was speaking about Claude, which was really, really interesting, and then how we're building it, so actually going through the step-by-step there. So very briefly, a bit about me. So my background is in machine learning engineering, and I was very fortunate to specialize in natural language processing in 2019. Just, as some of you may know, natural language processing is how a computer understands text. And this was very much within the very niche community that I was part of, a very exciting time, because a couple of years previously, transformers had been introduced into the scientific community. And transformers, the T in GPT, is obviously what we have today, and is why AI is so much more popular than when I started. But I'm very, very happy to see that. And I went on my own entrepreneurial journey. When I was 22, I set up my own company, and we had the huge opportunity to be VC backed in the US, as well as be featured on with NATO in Times Square, and some really amazing things. But today, I'm very, very extremely lucky to be the AI director for Tribes, and I obviously manage all of their AI builds or consulting work. And if you don't know about Tribes, Tribes is about bringing the best people together. So they bring together technical people for organizations. We have a huge community of developers, and so this presentation this part of the presentation, I made it a couple of months ago, and in less than about a month, we've gone from 6K developers in our platform to 8,000 developers. So we're seeing an exponential increase. The developers really like working with us, as we enjoy working with them, and we'll do bespoke builds within our studio, as well as AI consulting, which is my part. So today I wanted to speak a little bit about the AI landscape. Obviously, artificial intelligence is very, very broad, and many people forget that AI does not equate Gen AI or deep learning or natural language processing. There's far more things that we should look at. I also started my career as a data scientist, and I find it to be very much a forgotten art. So sometimes I love speaking to many organizations about data mining, data analytics. But what I wanted to show you is kind of the different umbrellas that we have. So obviously algorithm has been around since about the 50s, if not the 40s, and it's just a set of steps for accomplishing a task or solving a problem. Then we have artificial intelligence, which is obviously the ability to complete tasks normally needing human intelligence. And then within that, you'll have ML and deep learning. ML has been, well, really the first translation models that we were seeing emerge in the 60s. So these are not new topics at all. But what is quite new is obviously these the deep learning part, so anything to do with neural networks that were introduced with transformers. And a lot of that comes from the ability for us to digest large data sets and having the computational power to do so, which we used to not obviously be able to do. And so, yeah, just having this, the reason why I like to kind of lay the land first with the landscape is because there's so much that we can do within artificial intelligence, within data science, and I really like people to try to open up their minds to things beyond deep learning, because there are very, very powerful things that can be done, sometimes even more simply than you might realize. And so one of the things that is very important as well is to look at your use case development. And there's a sort of categorization that I like to do to help individuals understand, okay, should we actually go towards an AI build or not? And we called it the 4 T's framework, and it basically looks at, okay, what trigger needs to occur before we actually decide, okay, we actually want to go towards a build. The reason for this is there's many people that at the moment, of course, we're very excited about AI. It's my biggest passion, so I'm very much included in that list. But we don't just want to be throwing money and not understanding where it's actually going to go. So this framework that I'll quickly run you through, I hope is a way that will help you also kind of think, okay, should I actually be just thinking about this, like the thought process, which is just looking at AI to fit the criteria of novelty, relevance, and feasibility, or should I actually go towards theorization and trial and transformation? So with the theorization, what we're looking at is obviously evaluating AI ideas to determine their value that are in alignment with your organization goals. So this means that you need to have a strong value proposition for your AI solution that is very specific to user needs and benefits. Anyone who's built software before also knows that that comes a lot with user stories, and that tends to be then divided up into sprints for developers. And of course, we need to be thinking about your market demand and ethical considerations, which are hugely important as well, due to the impact that artificial intelligence does have on our lives. It's very important that we're trying to build towards ethical AI and not one that could be bad. And then obviously we're looking at trials, so that's actually seeing about AI being executed for pilot projects and decision making. So back again to this idea of iterative learning, you'll find that very much in any of these panels I talk a lot about the same things, because sometimes the simplest things are the most important, and making sure that we work with this iterative learning, with this value, is so hugely important. So the ways that you can kind of analyze whether you want to actually trial something, I would recommend firstly doing kind of an ROI analysis, looking at whether it's something that can scale. So, you know, an example of this is if you're plugging directly to an LLM and you're calling it many, many times, like thousands and thousands and thousands of times, you might find that the bill will become exponential very, very quickly. So that's sort of some considerations that you might want to take with in the scalability. Resources and technology stack. I know that, you know, when we're picking at the moment, many people are very model focused. So, oh yeah, which model is best? Is it the new GPT-O? I'm not sure if anyone's tried that yet. It is actually very, very good. Or is it Claude, or whichever one you might be using? I personally am more data focused, so I'm a more firm believer at making sure that the data we're putting in is useful for us, and then the model is of less importance. But that's my very humble and perhaps decisive opinion on that. And then obviously we go to transformation, and transformation is really looking at continuous improvement and refinement of AI solutions after a successful pilot project. And so I also thought it might be helpful for you to have a bit of a kind of 360 perspective of when I'm building AI, whether it's for a company or from my previous organization, what kind of individuals are you looking at? And so as you can see in the legends here, we've done it into vital tech, likely tech, and management. And this for me is a team structure that I see quite frequently. Obviously not all of these people are AI team members, like this is just for an AI build, so to speak. But you're obviously you'll need an AI or engineer. In the tech community, AI engineers, that term doesn't really exist. You tend to say that they're either machine learning engineers or data scientists, but as for non-technical people, that tends to be the way that the term that we use more frequently. Then, of course, we have software engineers, a designer, a UX UI designer to actually, perhaps you have a front end that needs to be interacted with, then a data scientist. If you're ever working with AI, you absolutely need a data scientist. I'm biased, of course, because I used to be one. And then cybersecurity, cloud engineers, and then more on the management side, a PM, a project manager, or an EM tend to be very, very important. And so, like, the last kind of framework that I want to introduce you to today is the buy, borrow, build approach. And this kind of like, what we've been discussing is to really help you understand, okay, we've got so many choices with artificial intelligence. Where should I even start? And I find that the buy, borrow, build approach is a good way to understand, okay, the decision making behind how you build artificial intelligence. And this is also something that I use very frequently. Like, it's not necessarily technical, but it's analyzing different criteria. So when we're looking at buy, borrow, build, some of the criteria would be obviously cost, expertise, and time. So buy, for example, means to buy an off-the-shelf solution. So imagine you just buy something once and then it's yours. So sometimes you might ask, I don't know, like a company to build an artificial intelligence model for you. You buy it off them and then it's yours. Obviously you might probably need external support, and implementation and deployment are probably going to be faster because it will be a vendor provided solution. Borrow is the more frequently type that we're seeing at the moment, which is of course like potentially integrating with a model. So you might be using an API, you might be using a subscription, like a simple version of that could be, an OpenAI subscription. Or the build, in contrast, is, you're actually building your own. So building your own large language model, I wouldn't recommend it, apart from if you have millions and a long time in the bank. But perhaps building a micro LLM, for example, there's different ways that we can go about it today. So some of the criteria to bear in mind when you're developing artificial intelligence is obviously cost. So, what is going to be the cost? Is it going to fluctuate with scalability? What expertise do you need? Many people find it very hard to find in-house technical skills or just trustworthy technical skills, and that's kind of what Tribes was really built out of. Time, when I speak to non-technical founders, many of them want something built yesterday. So explaining to them sometimes that there could be a longer development time for the development of their IP can be quite complex. And some other things as well could be in regard to customization. So how much flexibility do you want within your models or within your AI? The risk, or any ethical considerations that you might want to consider when it comes to transparency, fairness, and accountability in artificial intelligence. So yeah, very briefly, like within the lightning strikes framework, what I tend to take people through first then is the why, as I mentioned at the start, the what, and then the how. And I know this was a very quick presentation, but as I'm online, I don't want to go too long. So thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to your questions later on.